Hey everybody. Good morning. Really quick before we get started today, I want to give a big shout out to Polar. We got Macro Factor and Primal Potential who have rallied around what we're doing, and I just want to you can read more about that in the description. But they are definitely along for the journey, and their support means everything. So just wanted to make sure I give them a shout out this morning. So anyway, Carolyn.
Hello.
I was just telling everybody, I was so excited to talk to you. This is like our second regroup.
Yeah.
We had our first one kind of offline where we were kind of plunking through everything. And there's definitely some things that I want to cover today. Like the schedule was one of them that has made a world of difference. Just again, didn't think that, but anyway, maybe if you want to take a second to introduce yourself to maybe somebody that doesn't know who you are yet.
Yeah, I'm Carolyn. I'm owner of CrossFit Wonderland. I'm Jeff Adler's coach. I'm a CrossFit level 4 and TRP, which is like a physiotherapist assistant here in Quebec. So that's generally my education. I also have a bachelor's of education. Always been interested in helping people. So that is me.
That's right. You're in Quebec. For people that don't know.
Yes.
You're Eastern time zone too.
I speak French. Yeah, I'm Eastern time zone. Which people tend to forget, and then they get mad when Jeff and I talking French. We're like, well, that's our native language, so that's what we're going to talk to each other.
It's funny, the stuff that I don't think about, because the first time I called your phone, like I got a voicemail, and half of her voicemail is, I was cracking up because half of it is in French. I'm like, this is so cool. And I was sitting there listening to it. I'm like, how did I forget that?
Yep.
But anyway.
Let's get started.
Take it away, sister. Yeah.
We're going to start on the positive. Just I want to recap of like what's going on with your fitness. Like give me a couple of wins, things that are going well there, and then we'll move on to nutrition and like dive in more.
Okay. On the movement side, working with Pete has been awesome. I think for me, one of the biggest changes in the movement has been getting more strength, which is something that I wasn't really doing before. And then the coolest thing happened. I want to say it was like on Friday, he was coming up with we were talking about like steps and things like that. And I don't remember how the conversation came up, whether it was around sleep or steps, but he was basically saying, okay, Athena, once a week, I want you to get, like 12 to 15,000 or 13 to 15,000, somewhere in there of additional steps. And so I told him, I was like, okay, like, what's the strategy? And he goes, well, the long-term strategy is to get to more like 20. And I was like, 20,000 steps. I was like, I haven't seen those kind of numbers since like diesel days. And I was like, okay, let's go. Well, here's the crazy thing that happened. And I feel like I should have known this, was that the first day that I bumped it up. So what are we talking, like an extra 3,000-4,000 steps or whatever it was that day? I slept so good.
Yeah.
And my sleep score went from like 6 hours to like 7.5. And I was like, that's crazy. Just by adding in the extra steps. I was like, huh. Well, he only told me to do it once a week. I was like, well, what if I do it again tomorrow to see what it does to my sleep? And so I did it again the next day. And sure enough, I'm up like an hour and a half.
Nice.
More sleep. And I'm like, that's all it took. And I felt so dumb because I feel like I should have known that. But I didn't.
Yeah, no, so it's going to have different effect on different people. Everybody's going to go out and like start walking now.
They are.
More movement obviously like is going to help just in terms of like your body, but it helps your mind as well. So sometimes people that have a hard time sleeping, like it's not that you have a hard time being asleep, it's that as soon as because we wake up during the night, right? We are awake. But as soon as you're awake, your brain turns your thoughts back on instead of just being like from awake back into another sleep cycle. And that's what keeps you awake. So going out for those extra steps, that walk might just clear your head so that you can actually go in and out of those sleep cycles without fully like waking up and thinking, and like now it's preventing you from sleep. So it could be one of those two things. It could be both. No matter what, you're getting better sleep. So that's just the goal. So that's good.
It was a big difference.
Yeah.
And I feel it right away.
More sleep.
More sleep.
Better sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like better sleep. I wake up and, you know, I feel better. I feel better throughout the day. I don't have this crazy urge to sleep at noon, you know.
Yep.
All that good stuff.
Yay. Awesome. And then how are things with the nutrition?
Nutrition is good. I would say the only thing that's different in the last probably 2 weeks is that I wasn't doing my like normal meal pictures. I was keeping it, and I know what you told me here. I was keeping it like super simple. Not that the meals were complex. It was just, you know, lots and lots of like chicken and fish and
which is fine.
Which is fine.
Yeah. So your routine has been stable.
Yes. Very stable. I would say that's the only thing that's different is I was really simplifying for a couple weeks, not worrying about like taking my pretty pictures. It was more about just fuel and start getting used to kind of new cadences.
Yeah. So going back to the steps.
Yeah.
Have you noticed if like, because how many times have you done it? Like twice in a row?
Today is going to be number 5.
Okay. Have you noticed anything in terms of thirst or hunger, like before, after, like has your timing throughout the day? So as you're adding these steps, and now we're getting to day number 5, like you might start noticing changes in terms of like when you get hungry the next day. Because if we're adding exercise in the past 24 hours, that might affect the next 24 hours. So have you noticed any changes yet?
A lot more water.
Okay.
Lots more water.
Okay.
Hunger, I don't know if I've noticed like more desire to eat more. It's more about I noticed that I get hungrier earlier.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of my walking in the morning. So instead of getting hungry like 12 or 1, I'm getting hungry at like 11.
Okay, which is normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure that like just be aware of those sensations like thirst, hunger. And if you're hungry at 11, eat at 11. Don't wait until 12. So that might mean that you need to reorganize, like at least you're working from home, but reorganize your workday and know that you need a break. You don't want to delay eating because you're like, must eat at 12. Like if you're hungry at 11, especially since you're exerting yourself earlier in the morning with more calories, like your body is going to need the energy. And if you want to keep fueling that exercise, you need to eat. Right.
Okay.
So just reorganize your day so that like, okay, if you know now that like instead of being 12, it's 11 or 11:30, make sure that you plan your lunch around 11:30 when you're hungry. And then same thing for supper. If you need to bump that up a little bit, make sure you bump it up. Like you might need to reorganize when you're eating.
You know what? I'm glad that you said that because I didn't even think about it until just now. I was holding out, and then, and then I was like starving.
Yes. And usually what happens is unless you want to like fight that battle, because you're hungrier, you're going to want to eat more because that's the trigger, right? Our body's like, well, I'm hungry this much, I'm going to eat this much. I'm hungry this much, I'm going to eat this much. Like that's normal because it doesn't know what's happening, right? So unless you're like, well, I'm feeling this hungry, but I still need to eat here, like you're fighting that gap. And that's where people usually make like bad food choices or you just overeat because you can, eat 10 apples.
That's exactly when it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you're eating when you're hungry. So if you notice changes in when you're getting hungry, you have to change when you're eating.
Okay. That makes sense.
Because it'll
So
be easier to stay
I'm gonna have
within
to
like your
organize
macro.
my schedule then.
Yes. So that's
Reorganize my
homework number
schedule.
1.
Okay. Well, okay, so that means we're gonna have to adjust lunch. Breakfast is usually always fine. I usually always eat at like 7. Lunch and dinner, I'm gonna have to adjust. So like eat lunch around 11 and then dinner is gonna be more like 4.
Is that something that you think is doable in terms of like your work and stuff?
Totally. Yeah.
And then, so would you go back to work after 4?
Sometimes.
Okay.
That's when I usually try to wrap it up for the day.
Yeah.
So that I'm done like around 4.
Okay. Just because like we had our night routine,
Mm-hmm.
like everything was kind of based off of like when you're finishing your workday and everything
Yep.
else. And as we're starting shifting, which is fine, we might need to reorganize that as well to make sure that
Yeah.
things make sense. Because if you're bumping up
Yeah.
lunch, you still need to go like back to work for half an hour or whatever. Like we might need to tweak that and optimize it because we want to make sure that you're
Yeah.
eating when you're hungry, and then we optimize everything else, and then we can adjust later on.
What time did we say on the last one? Because I started like
That's what
those
I'm checking.
blocks or
Usually you would have supper before 6, like you were done by 6.
Yeah.
And then we had like your projects, your bonus time, and then the night routine.
Well,
So, I mean,
yeah.
ideally we can keep everything by 6 because like if you're having supper now at 4 and you need to go back to, I'm just going to say go back to work. You want to make sure that you're still wrapping it up by 6 so that you can have your time in the evening.
Well, here's what I did this week. I didn't change the block time like Athena's activities, her project time.
Yeah.
I added the walk time.
Okay.
So I don't think it'll mess with my project time because I still have to get another half an hour of walk at night.
Okay.
So that's where I put it.
Okay. So project 1 or 2 is now like there's one project, there's walk time, and there's bonus time.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It seems to be working good. I feel a little bit more organized this week too.
Yeah. Everybody's gonna be wondering what I'm doing. I'm typing. I'm taking notes.
I should be taking notes too.
It's okay. I can give you access to the document. It's just like all point form, and we don't remember, forget anything.
Okay.
So that's good. So the goal, and like this is what should be happening, right? The more you do it, the more organized and like routine it's going to feel, the more comfortable, the easier. Like that's what you want to do, right? Just keep repeating. And then eventually like, okay, we'll be able to optimize things. And like, if we need to change things around because we have issues, then we change them. But otherwise we just need to make sure that we get to somewhere where you feel really comfortable.
Yeah.
And then we're just trying to like do more with less, which is CrossFit.
Okay.
More work, less time.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay. So our first homework that I have down is reorganizing your work and nutrition schedule. So 7 a.m. breakfast doesn't change, but we're moving 11 and 4 p.m.
Okay.
And just making sure everything else fits. So now you know that you have that down, and that's when you're having your meals.
Yep.
Cool. And then did the evening routine work well from 8:45 to 9:45?
Yes. In fact, I love that one the best. So for all of you that don't know, so we created part of what I was working on in that first 8 to 10 weeks was I was not always successful, but I was trying to go to bed at the same time every day. It never happened, but The first meeting that I met with Carolyn, it was reorganizing it into a schedule where there were certain things that I was doing in that hour before, so that I was ready to go to sleep. And I think that that's where I was making the big mistake, is I would work all the way up until 8:45. And then what I was trying to do was, okay, now I'm going to shut off the computer and now I'm going to go to bed. That never worked, ever. So now there's like more of a wind down for that hour. So what am I doing in that hour so I don't forget anything?
Go ahead. First
Yeah.
10
So
minutes.
yeah. So pulling up my little app here. So I'm making a cup of tea.
Mhm.
I'm listening to music. I'm updating all my boards. So when I say I'm updating my boards, I'm updating the one in the box, so I don't have to do it in the morning. And then updating like my virtual boards, like the workout boards. And then I'm taking the time to like lay out my workout clothes, lay out my clothes for the next day. So everybody is, or so that I'm ready. I'm playing with my dogs. I'm putting on my pajamas and brushing my teeth. And then I'm going to bed.
Yay!
During that hour. And it's having, like, you don't realize having a schedule for this and what a difference it makes. This is probably the one that's going the best. I actually look forward to that 8:45 now.
Yes, because it's you time.
It's so good.
Our brain loves consistency, and like,
Yeah.
this is where like we forget, but like for children, like with parents, you need a night routine because they'll get your kids like in that mindset. And then as we grow up, we kind of forget because nobody's doing it for us, right? Like your 5-year-old, and you're like, oh, okay, it's bath time. Like you talk to parents, like there's bath time and this time and and like everything is freaking structured. And then like as adults, we're like, I'm just going to bed. Like, yeah, it works, but like it doesn't work. Having that routine of like specific things that you need to kind of like go through, it sets your mind up and your body to be like, okay, this is when I'm going to bed. Like shutting lights, making sure you're turning off the lights. Screens are one thing, but just making sure that like you know when you're supposed to be going to bed. Like it's good.
That's getting better too, though, is shutting off the, like physically turning off the computer so that I don't get tempted to get back on it. Turning the apps off, saying goodnight to people, that kind of thing. It's helping a lot. Maybe it's just that screen time before bed, like not having that blue screen in that 30 minutes before I lay down is making a world of difference.
It could. Everybody's different. So like you kind of have to figure out what helps for you in terms of like computer versus like the phone. A lot of the phones now you can have like it becomes yellow. So you can have like a night screen.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know on the iPhone it has that. So mine's always set between like I think 9 and 7:30 in the morning. It just does it automatically. I don't even think about it anymore. It just does it automatically. And I think that has probably helped. But it's been like that for like the longest time. But yeah, it really depends on like what is going to help you wind down. If watching television is going to help you wind down, just make sure that you're blocking off that time and not like letting another episode go on. Like you said, like close off your computer because if it's still running in the background, it's like, I still have the opportunity to go. Like shut it off. Like know when that cutoff time is, and not like start something 5 minutes before that cutoff time.
Well, I've learned that I have to physically shut it off.
Yeah.
Or I will get back on it.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's good. It's good.
Yes. Excellent. Anything in the next 2 to 3 weeks that you anticipate struggling with? Any meetings, anything that's going to throw off your schedule that we know that we can plan for? If there's, things that come up, there's things that come up, but anything we need to plan around?
Yes.
Okay.
Next Thursday, I leave for Nashville.
Oh,
so it's going to be travel. I don't want to say I struggle, but I think it's easy to struggle when you're traveling, trying to find just in the airport, trying to find something to eat.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Um,
Have you been to Nashville before?
no.
Okay. So okay. This is what you do. First of all, we've all forgotten if you've been traveling for a really long time because rules have changed. You can travel with food. Pack a lunch
Can you
and bring.
really?
Yes, you can travel with food. Like that's what like Jeff and I have to do that because like like the tiny sandwiches and the tiny little nuts and like whatever. That's just stupid. Like you're not feeding any adult with what is being served on the food in 2024. So you can bring. There's certain things that like fruits, you'll have to cut them open, right? Like if you want to bring an apple, like
Really?
if you're staying inside the US, so I don't think they'll check. But like for us, when we travel international from Canada to the US, because they don't want you to bring bugs, they don't want you to bring like certain, so there's
Oh,
certain things
that
that
makes
need
sense.
to be like cut up, like things like that. But otherwise, we bring containers of legit like food, like chicken and rice and like vegetables, like it's all pre-cooked, and then we just eat it on the plane. But you can bring food on a plane. So you just need to plan like based on your flight what you'll need to eat on the plane so you can keep kind of like that timing. Either you're eating it in the airport or on the plane or whatever, but you can bring the food. And then same thing, like depending on
I'm
when
glad
that
you said
flight
that. I didn't
is.
know that.
Yeah. When you're landing, like, do you need to have an extra lunch, like supper, like an extra meal, so that when you're landing in Nashville, you're not scrambling to go to the supermarket or going to a restaurant or whatever. Like, you want to plan that day as if it was a regular day. It's annoying because you're going to have to like bring it with you. But if anything, just buy like super cheap containers that you can just like dispose of and bring them. So that will save you that day when you're traveling there.
That's a great idea. Here's what I normally would do is I would get off the plane, especially if I was going to be there a couple days, because I'm going to be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then maybe a little bit into Monday. Normally what I would do is I would get off the plane, and then I usually stay at like Airbnbs with like kitchens and stuff so
Yeah.
that I can do a lot of that stuff. So normally I would get off the plane, get the car, do all that stuff. The very first place that I would go is I would go to the grocery store and
Yeah.
pick up like meats and fruits and vegetables and do all that stuff, take it back to the Airbnb, and then I have stuff to play with. But when I travel, I usually do like the tuna packages, the things that are like easy to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like fruit that I don't need to put in a container, like a lot of apples,
Yeah. You don't want to bruise
carrots.
banana.
Yeah. So stuff like that.
So
Like,
that's great.
is that a good idea, or do you have
Yeah.
another suggestion?
No. You bring the foods that you like because like you
Okay.
also need to be comfortable like eating on the plane. Like it's not the most comfortable thing to do. But yeah, like just bring what you're comfortable with eating, what you know you're going. Like you don't want to eat a bruised banana. Don't bring a banana. Like carrots, apples, like things that are cucumbers, like whatever it is that you like eating, and that you know that you can also like eat the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like you're not eating half an apple, then what are you doing with it? Like, gonna put it back in your I mean, you can throw it away, but like ideally you're packing enough of like just what you need to eat for those meals, and then you're not like spoiling or have to carry trash around and things like that. So for that Thursday, what time are you traveling?
Thursday in the morning.
Okay. So then we would want to cover lunch so that when you land, you have something to eat.
Yes.
And then you'll have time in the afternoon to go to the grocery store, get everything that you need, and then have supper over there.
Lindsay had a great idea. Those prepackaged chicken packets. I know which ones she's talking about too. That's a great idea. It's like these little, it's like like grilled chicken that comes in these little packet. That's a great idea.
There you go. We don't have the same things at our Canadian Costco, so I'm not gonna venture on
You
that.
don't have the grilled chicken packets?
No, I don't think. I mean, we might have them somewhere, but like we know that Costco around like every aisle that we need to do or not do, and for us, it's like I mean, I don't mind when I go alone, but when you go with Jeff, it's like a race. Like going to Costco, like 7 minutes, and we're in and out. It's like I hate people, and like you're trying to get everything done. But yeah, I shop around a little bit more, but I don't shop around. I'm not sure if we have them or not. We might, but I don't know.
They're usually in like the refrigerated deli area where like your meats are.
Okay, yeah. I don't shop in that area. I should.
Hummus.
So we'll have that lunch. So now you also need to reorganize kind of like your suitcase and like what you're putting where, like, because you need to have the food on board with you.
Right.
So just think about the amount of space that it's going to take and how you might need to reorganize. Like, I'm not sure how much you're taking with you and like all these things. So that's where like, it's going to be easier to have like disposable containers or having Ziploc bags or like, you know, those individual packets would be super convenient because they probably don't take up a lot of space, like things like that. Like you have to think one step ahead. You'll need to plan for the space that food is going to take. So just make sure that you do that.
Okay.
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 The other thing, so can you shop online? Like, I don't know what is it called?
In Nashville?
Yeah, the grocery stores.
I mean, probably.
I'm trying to think what that one of those supermarkets. Whole Foods. That's one of the ones that I know. I don't know if they have them in Nashville, but like our supermarkets, you might need to create an account, but like you can shop online and then like have it delivered or you can pick up. So that's one thing as well. Like if you know what you're going to need for that time from like the Thursday supper to potentially Monday, then you can have.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like order it ahead of time and then stop and do a pickup on the way to.
And then just do the pickup.
I could do that.
So that will save you time, but also like you can start like pre-planning of like what you're going to eat, what you want to eat. You'll see what also is available, what potentially is on special, not on special. Like
I didn't even think about that. What a great idea. Okay. Plan ahead.
Lindsay says there's great Whole Foods in Nashville. Awesome.
I was like, they have they do.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I love Whole Foods. Okay. I will plan ahead and
see whatever is close to like your Airbnb or what's convenient, things like that. But it's just one thing that you want to have planned. So if you're not doing that, make sure you have a list of you know what you want to buy when you walk into that grocery store.
Yeah.
And it just makes it easier, right? It's like I'm going to pick this up, and then you're out.
I like that idea. I've never done that before, but that's going to save a lot of time. Oh, I didn't think about that. I'll do it.
Yeah. It's like I used to like to go window shopping, like for clothes, and you go shopping and it takes hours and it's fun and it's an activity. And it's like we do that at the grocery stores. We like go to the grocery store and we're like shopping and like looking at things around. It's like you need the food, make the list, go in, get the stuff, get out. Because that's where you're going to either buy things that you don't need and therefore not going to eat, and then you're just spending money for nothing because it spoils. So like if you want to get inspired for like, oh, I feel like making a different recipe, or you want to see things, that's fine. But otherwise, like you want to go in the grocery store with a purpose, get in, get out, save some time.
Well, here's something that I did do and that I was thinking ahead is that there's some activities. So like Thursday night, there's an activity like a rooftop thing. Cool. Saturday night, there's like dinner at this barbecue place. So what I did do is I looked ahead. So I already knew like, so that I don't get in that moment where I'm like famished and feel like I have to eat. And that's when I start making really goofy decisions. So I did look ahead. Here's what's on the menu. Here's what's good for Athena.
Yeah.
And then I did plan that out. So I know ahead of time. So I did that.
So when you're there, are you still going to try? Well, I mean, you might be walking around a little bit more, but are you keeping your steps in? Because like right now, because the seminar is set at certain times of when you have your breaks, we need to now maybe plan the rest of your activities and fitness to make sure that if you're like, you can't move that break if it's at 12. So either mentally you're going to prepare yourself of like, I know I'm going to get hungry at 11, have a bottle of water, like just.
Well, here's what we started doing at the seminars, just because it ended up working. So we catered the seminars and we bring in like Chipotle. And one of the reasons that we did that is one, it's good because everybody starts getting cranky. And I feel like having food there just goes a long way. Yeah. And two, it keeps everybody there
Yeah.
because that's sometimes when some of the best conversations happen is
Yeah.
when they're still hanging out at lunch. And so that has worked out well. I was trying to get by on seminar days with like little protein bars, but those don't work. And
No.
I know. What I didn't know is I always thought that I was making the right decisions. I would have like grab a protein bar with a piece of fruit for breakfast, and then I'd have the protein bar for lunch. And that's usually my seminar day. But every single time I eat those protein bars, I don't lose weight at all, ever. Even though if you do the math, it's in theory, it's fitting into the calories, but I don't make
In
any
terms
progress if I'm
of
eating those.
keeping you satiated, there's not enough fiber. There's not enough of just
No.
like digestion also helps like just kind of regulate your hunger, because it's not just the calories in, calories out. Like your whole system will send triggers when it's digesting. That protein bar is going to go through faster. And so once it's gone through, your body's like, oh, got to get ready to eat again. Like, so it's not just the calories that we have to think about.
Like in terms of like my steps, because I think what's going to be happening and we're going to be moving around a lot, there's breakout sessions. I think that steps aren't going to be a problem. And certainly on seminar days, I mean, I get like 20,000, sometimes like 25,000 on seminar days because you're moving all day long.
Yeah.
Or at least I am.
So then the steps will be accounted for. So you just want to remember, if your breaks and lunch and like all those things are not set with how, because now we still have like one more week, right? To see how your hunger is going to go. So if you're still feeling hungry by 11, just like, it's unpleasant, but we can be hungry, right? You're going to eat. Food is coming. Like we good. But people, because we're not either used to it or it's uncomfortable, that's where it's like, okay, now I'm going to eat more because I don't want to have this feeling anymore. And that's when we overeat or make poor choices, because now you're craving sugar or fat or like whatever your taste buds want to go to. Just it's normal. It's a response that your body, and just like kind of rationalize it. Food is coming. We're safe.
Yeah.
Right. So if we're not moving the schedule around and you know that hunger is going to come, just mentally be ready for it. It's just like a workout, right? The last 2 minutes always hurt no matter what you're doing, no matter if it's a 12-minute AMRAP or 5 rounds for, like, it's always the last 2 minutes, but we can rationalize it. It's the same thing with being hungry. It's like, okay, now I'm feeling hungry. I own the moment. It's uncomfortable. It will pass and I will eat. And then you just stick to the plan.
I think I've gotten really good. And Lindsay, that's totally funny. And yes, I tried to do those all day seminars on a protein bar, which was not a good idea. I promise I won't do that again. I think the only trouble spot, and I'm going to have to be very conscious of it on the trip, is just the travel eating and how out of whack that can get for me.
Yeah.
Because you're talking with people, you're meeting people are going out. People are like getting together, and that just happens. So I have to be really smart about where I go and, what I choose.
Yeah. So I would say, so that will be first homework for the next week, taking notes of when you're hungry, because that will help anticipate those feelings when you get the seminar, right?
Do you want me to log those? Like,
you can.
Like in my journal?
You can. I mean, ideally, they're going to be timed with your lunches. So if we're moving lunch to 11, then that should be timed, and like for the next week, so that like Thursday, Friday next week, that's probably when you're going to feel hungry, right? So you can anticipate it. You might not be able to eat at 11 because of the seminar, but you can anticipate it. The next thing is keeping your evening routine. So that is also going to be potentially a challenge with the seminar. If anything, keep that, like, condense the routine, make yourself like a traveling routine, because you're going to do that seminar more than once, right? So have a routine that you can travel with, of like, I need to have my tea, I need to have my music. Like, what are the 3 to 4 things that we can maintain to make sure that you're getting into that sleep routine? And also based on your schedule, like Saturday night, if there's, I don't know, and I'm not sure what time the evening barbecue is going to end, but let's say it's 9 p.m. That's later than when you would usually start. And you need to get back to the hotel and do this and do that. So that's fine. But just make sure that you have a schedule when you're on seminar, so that you have a plan and you're sticking to it. It's not going to be perfect, and it's not going to be your home plan, but it is still a plan that we need to stick to. That makes sense?
Okay. Yes.
Cool. So keeping the evening routine. So I'll just write that we also need to establish.
Well, here's the good thing about Saturday night is that the rule that I have every week is I don't have to do a 9 o'clock bedtime on the weekends.
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday night. So thankfully, it doesn't have to be perfect on
No,
Friday or
exactly.
Saturday night anyway.
No.
Seema said, I know steps have been helping with sleep. They have. I need to sweat every day or else I don't feel good. Do you try to sweat every day? Well, yeah, I work out every day. So yeah, that's the goal anyway.
And then the next thing,
okay.
And this is like in terms of just sustainability, right? Because we have a goal, we want to lose the weight. We also want to maintain it.
Yep.
You're going like when you're doing those travels and those seminars, does the weight usually come back up? Are we still trying to lose weight? Or are you just trying to keep your routine? Because those are going to be two very different goals, right? Because trying to lose weight while you're on seminar means hitting the workout and the steps and the nutrition and being like
that's
on
hard,
point, right? That's
not
super hard.
It's not impossible, but where I think, and sometimes I just don't know how it can be avoided when you're traveling, especially when you're having to go to restaurants to eat.
Yep.
It says on there, what the calories are, but you don't know what they're cooking it with. You don't know.
Yep.
It's impossible for me to know. So the goal is just to maintain.
So that's good. So that's way more realistic.
Yeah.
Way more realistic. What is going to help is so you have established like what your benchmarks are in terms of losing weight. We need to establish those benchmarks in terms of maintaining your weight. So having your night routine, having those grocery lists done, knowing that, Saturday night's not going to be perfect. That's fine. Even if you're half a pound heavier on the Sunday morning, like we good. Things are going to go up and down. Like, let's not panic. Like, and then we keep moving and we get back on schedule as soon as you come back.
I think it's easy to choose the right foods. Like say I go to a restaurant, I'm always going to gravitate to like, fish or chicken. I can always make the best decisions there. But again, I can't always control what's in it, but I can still make good choices. If I come back and I happen to be up on the scale, it's not going to be because I decided to have, cheesecake and margaritas on Saturday night.
Yeah, no.
It was just because,
Well, flying, you're going to have water retention. Your lymphatic system is not working as optimally. So you're just retaining water. There's all these other things. So you don't want to panic and you don't want to feel bad. Like these are normal things for everybody that's traveling. And so it's just like, if you're trying to be consistent in terms of just your routine and getting those wins, then that is where we're shifting the focus. Because as you get travel routine and then life routine, like as you get back into that life routine, the weight's going to come down because the goal of the routine is to make the weight come down.
Yes.
So we're just focusing on the steps and not on the result.
Right.
Like,
right.
You need to get your steps in, you need to get your workout in, you need to maintain your nutrition. And then it's the waiting game. And as we stack up those wins, the weight will come down. But we're not, shifting left and right and like overcompensating and doing anything like that. We're just back on the routine.
Right.
Okay. So
no fear.
So the other thing that you can do, get back on. So again, when you're coming back, if you can, have your groceries already kind of ready and like pick up, that will save you time, or have them delivered. On that Monday, depending on what's happening, bring some of the food back on the plane, like have an exit strategy for when you're traveling back. And then potentially like, on that Monday night, get back into that night routine that we've established. And you're just trying to get back on the routine as quickly as possible. It's not going to be perfect. And maybe you'll need to cut some things out on that first night or that second night. But ideally, if everything is planned and you've established the time of when you're doing what, then you should be able to get back on your routine.
Okay.
Cool.
I have the shopping done for when I get back. So it'll be like Monday night. So I don't have to think about that when I get back. So that one's
Perfect.
already done.
Good. So then we're already ready. We're already organized. Yeah. So that's good. So that's all you're focusing. So then when you're there, and I know this can be hard, and this is something we can address much later on, but like going to the restaurant, eating out, like not feeling guilty because you have your goal. It's like, well, you can still enjoy this 24 hours and like get back on your routine, right? And not feel like you're missing out or that you're not following the plan or this or that. Like we can do that for like later seminars and unpack that eventually, but it's like you still have a life to live and you still need to enjoy the time that you're spending with people when there is food involved and not feeling guilty of this, that, or the other.
Oh, totally. And you know what? And for the most part, I don't. Like
Okay, good.
staying on plan actually brings me a lot of joy.
Good.
Knowing that I can.
Good.
I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything if I'm not having all the same things. I just have different things.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. That's good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Any last questions before I go to my next meeting?
No, I think we have a good game plan for the next week. Our next check-in is going to, well, we check in every week kind of offline. I send the emails and stuff, but our next check-in here is going to be
in 3 weeks.
In 3 weeks.
May 2nd?
Yep.
I can't remember if it was on the Thursday or the Friday, but I have it in my agenda.
I think it's on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, yeah, I'll make sure to log. And then the other cool thing that's going to be happening in the meantime is that I'm switching from the Fitbit to the Polar. So we're going to have all kinds of cool tracking stuff. And they have a coach's dashboard on that too. So you'll be able to see what it's doing.
Nice.
So that'll be fun to pick apart on the next one.
Excellent. We can look into that.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Nashville. Have some fun in Nashville. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
And we'll stay posted.
You got it. Thanks, Coach.
Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.